Our story begins at the Tower of the Demon Lord Baal. The final dungeon, an explosion erupts under the night sky, shattering everything in its path. The force of the impact hurls two warriors through the air, one with red hair and the other with dark hair, both crashing down amidst the debris. The red-haired warrior laughs wildly, declaring that this is the end of everything. He addresses his opponent, humanity's strongest hunter, known as the Tyrant of the 12 Divine Seats. The dark-haired hunter grits his teeth in agony as his enemy continues to gloat about the power he possesses. With a devastating punch, the red-haired adversary screams that all of that power will now be his. A column of white light explodes from the ground, consuming the area in a blinding energy. Suddenly, a blonde-haired woman appears, conjuring a sphere of golden light in her hands. The villain turns in surprise, questioning how there could possibly be anyone else still standing. He smirks with disdain, thinking that with the hunter Chu Ganhyuk gone, one girl alone can't do a thing. The girl ignores his taunt and invokes her ability, the Veil of Immortality, focusing her energy. Before the Demon Lord can react, Chu Ganhyuk reappears behind him, stabbing him with two swords. Shocked and reeling from the pain, the villain turns, not understanding how the hunter is still there. The hero smiles, remarking that his enemy, as always, let his guard down way too soon. The Demon Lord refuses to accept defeat, claiming that a mere scratch like that isn't enough to take him down. Suddenly, the Demon Lord screams in shock as he feels a sudden surge of energy around him. A golden magic circle envelops him, and he wonders when that trap was set. From the ground, thick magical chains known as the Chains of Gleipnir erupt. The chains bind themselves to the villain's body, completely immobilizing him as he struggles to break free. Behind the hunter, a massive golden figure manifests, his powerful avatar named Zeus. The Demon Lord roars, outraged that a mere human would dare to face him in such a way. Calmly, the hero replies, finding it a bit rude to be called a mere human. He then grins and reminds his enemy that he has already defeated him 6 times before. The golden energy explodes with full force, consuming the Demon Lord, who screams in agony. A blinding light shoots from the top of the tower, marking the end of the battle. After the confrontation, the hunter calmly pulls a pack of cigarettes from his pocket. He lights one and brings it to his lips, looking relieved that the fight is finally over. Looking down at his enemy's body, he complains that the guy made things a pain right up to the end. He turns to the girl Hyunsi and praises her shield's good timing, asking why she's there. With tears in her eyes, she says that her big brother could have saved everyone and that they believed in him. Amidst the bodies of their comrades, she confronts him, asking why he didn't protect them. Desperately, she screams, questioning if his desire to defeat the Demon Lord alone was that strong. The hunter remains silent, taking a drag from his cigarette without showing any emotion on his face. The truth is, he has lived through this 13 times, and in all 13 regressions, the outcome was always the same: destruction. Even when they defeated the Demon Lord's army and cleared the Tower of Babel, the final result never changed. The destruction came later with a war that erupted between the new humanity, the hunters, and the old. To create a supposed paradise, some tried to merge all human consciousness into one. This plan was masterminded by hunters who had gone mad with the power they received. Many of them were tormented by the trauma of slaughter and survival, confined to psychiatric hospitals. Others were hunters whose avatar abilities spiraled out of control, forcing them to flee from assassins. Elderly hunter couples and even children. In the end, the world they saved always met its ruin. Back in the present, the hero crushes the cigarette with his fingers, his mind made up. That is why he must take out everyone. Not just the demons, but also the hunters who would destroy the world. He tightens his grip on his sword, determined to eliminate anyone who threatens the future, with no exceptions. The girl's eyes widen in pure shock and terror upon hearing his terrible resolution. Without hesitation, he lunges forward and delivers a fatal blow to his own comrade. His eyes glow with a cold light, but suddenly he realizes something is wrong. The hunter spins around in shock, sensing a presence that shouldn't be there anymore. The Demon Lord re-emerges, holding a dark energy and mocking the young man for his limited abilities. With a look of contempt, he asks if the hero really believed he could win. We see the previous battle, where the hunter faces the same enemy in a fierce combat. A powerful, dark attack is launched in his direction, cutting through the air with incredible speed. The hero is stunned by the sheer speed of the blow, but he is struck head-on, pierced by the overwhelming force of the Demon Lord's attack. Gravely wounded, the hunter coughs up blood, marking his 7th consecutive defeat. The villain mocks him, while the hero thinks that even taking out the hunters first led to the same result. He wonders if the damage was insufficient because he gave up the Divine Spear Longinus on the 65th floor. He laments not having a better avatar, while Bao wonders how he knows about secret items. Even in defeat, the hunter smiles and reaffirms that he has already beaten him 6 times, hinting at his secret. With that, his 7th life comes to an end, and he is defeated once more. Bao laughs, finding the hunter amusing even in his final moments. But he declares that the foolishness ends now, preparing for the final blow. The hero accepts his fate, his body wounded and with no strength left to fight. With a tired smile, he says he's sick of this too and will end it all, just as his enemy wishes. His hand begins to glow with a red energy, signaling a final, desperate act. He screams that he will annihilate both demon lords and hunters, hoping this cursed regression will finally end. The scene shifts to the beginning of a new year, in a different time. In the middle of the city, Baal appears, ordering the lesser creatures to be swallowed by a whirlwind of terror. He declares that the demons will bring extinction to this dimension, and that the humans will perish begging for mercy. On the streets, people look up in panic, not understanding the threat that has just appeared. From space, a gigantic beam of light strikes the Earth, a cataclysmic event that will change everything. From the spot where the beam of light hit, 2,888 dungeons spread across the entire world. And from within them, endless hordes of monsters began to pour out, invading the human world. Soldiers take their positions, but one of them hesitates afraid, another scoffs, saying there's nothing to be scared of. The order is given to fire, and the soldiers unload on the distant figure at the dungeon's entrance. On the battlefield, a monstrous goblin blocks a sword strike, proven to be immune to conventional weapons. The creatures advance on the soldiers, who scream in despair and order an immediate retreat. Humanity's modern weapons couldn't harm the monsters, and the front lines fell back until there was nowhere left to run. A cornered soldier screams in terror as a giant armored monster prepares to crush him. But suddenly, a nimble figure leaps over him and slices the creature, saving the soldier at the last second. The soldier watches in shock as humanity was being crushed by hopelessness. Something finally changed. People called Hunters appeared to face the monsters, using superhuman powers. They are awakened beings who control avatars whose forms range from gods to heroes, displaying immense power. With the help of the Hunters, humanity began its counterattack, clearing the dungeons despite 1 billion lives lost. However, as they celebrated, one of the men looks on in shock as something unbelievable happens. A system window appears, announcing that the tutorial has been completed, leaving everyone baffled. The soldier can't believe it, realizing the war they just fought was only the beginning. An intense light shines in the sky, and a powerful voice calls out to the people of Earth. The men look up, still confused by the tutorial message and unsure of what's to come. An angelic figure introduces herself as the Archangel Metatron and makes a plea, explaining that she can barely hold back the invaders. The angelic figure states that this is why they need humanity's help. She explains that the chosen hunters must go to the final dungeon bubble and defeat the demon lord at its peak. If the tower is not conquered within 20 years, even stronger monsters will be unleashed and destroy the entire dimension. But she says that not all hope is lost, as the hunters can grow stronger in Babel with the support of the angels. With the blessing of the gods, the archangel promises they will never be alone on this difficult journey. A divine blessing is bestowed upon everyone, marking the beginning of the mission to save humanity. Back in a battle, Hunter yells at the rear guard, saying their attacks aren't even scratching the demonic beast. The mage replies that he's already giving it his all, while a comrade worries about the fate of the rear guard. The creature lunges with a devastating attack, forcing the hunters to flee in desperation to save their lives. The young hunter refuses to meet his end in that place, determined to survive at all costs. At that moment, an intense light shines in his eyes, signaling a sudden change. He stumps hard on the ground, cracking it beneath his feet as he prepares for a swift move. However, he seems to lose his balance and is thrown backward unexpectedly. As he falls, one of his comrades desperately yells for him to get up. Before he can react, the monster looms over him from the background, ready to finish him off. His comrade's voice yells out, asking how long he's going to lay there on the ground. The other hunter in a suit sighs in frustration, while his blonde-haired companion looks confused by the situation. The Minotaur monster grinds its teeth, its eyes glowing with a menacing red light as it prepares to attack. Amid the chaos, the hunters scream in panic, ordering everyone to scatter as the creature charges relentlessly. On the ground, the young man Chu Gonyuk laments that he almost got taken out as soon as he arrived. This is his 13th regression. Nearby, one of his comrades lies on the ground, a victim of the monster's overwhelming attack. He gets up and mentally thanks his fallen comrade for drawing the monster's attention, saving him from being trampled. He then summons his avatar observer and orders it to analyze the situation and file a report. At that moment, reinforcements arrive, apologizing for the delay. He watches them from the ground as they approach. The newcomers hurry over, saying they've already lost 2 people. One of them asks what the young man is doing, but the other ignores him. However, a girl in the group stares at him with a look of recognition, thinking he might be her older brother. He responds by pulling out a stained pack of cigarettes, confirming her suspicion with a single word. With a calm motion amidst the chaos, he lights his cigarette, the flame illuminating his face for an instant. Exhaling the smoke, he thinks that nothing beats a smoke after a regression. He then looks at the holographic screens that have appeared, analyzing the information presented by his avatar. The screen reveals that the boss is a rank E raging Minotaur, with 8 guards in the vanguard and 4 in the rear in addition to the girl, Hyunsi. Behind him, his sister calls his name, a look of shock and confusion on her face. The young woman, Hyunsi, runs toward him, warning that the area is dangerous and that he should fall back to the rear guard immediately. At the same time, one of his comrades yells at him to stop messing around and help fight the monster. The hunter glares at him with a furious look, incredulous at the young man's attitude. He asks if the hunter is smoking in the middle of a battle. The young man calmly replies that he'll take the creature out in 2 minutes. The comrade shouts at him to stop joking around, warning that he's going to get himself taken out if he keeps this up. Utterly unfazed by the warning, the young man takes another drag from his cigarette, remaining perfectly calm. He starts walking toward the fight, while his sister panikedly asks where he's going. The girl begs him not to go, screaming desperately that he'll meet his end if he goes alone. He faces the creature knowing he can't keep up with its movements, which means there's only one option left. With a confident smirk, he decides he will predict all of the beast's attacks. The Minotaur roars in pain and fury, a visible gash on its face, its eye glowing intensely. The creature stumbles back, clutching the deep one on its chest, surprised by the unexpected attack. A confident smile appears on the hunter's face as he watches the wounded monster's reaction. Seizing the opening, the young man attacks, delivering a swift and precise strike against the creature. The monster roars in pain, trying to grab its attacker with its bloody hands in a desperate act. The hunter laughs with excitement, thinking that now the fight is finally getting more interesting. He dodges and counter-attacks with agility, but one of the creature's strikes grazes his face. Leaping onto the beast, he mocks its foolishness for opening its mouth so wide in the middle of combat. He promises to cut off the monster's head with a downward strike, diving toward his target. Grabbing the creature's horn, he calls it pathetic, wondering how anyone could have trouble with such a weak opponent. However, his expression suddenly changes as he realizes something didn't go exactly as planned. Unexpectedly, the monster reacts, and the horn he was holding pierces his shoulder, catching him by surprise. He grits his teeth in pain, feeling the impact of the wound that forces him to retreat. Blood pours from the wound on his shoulder, showing the severity of the creature's surprise attack. Despite the injury, he remains standing on the monster's body, which seems to be finally defeated. But the creature's eyes glow red again, and it lets out a low groan, revealing it hasn't been vanquished yet. His comrades watch in horror. The girl screams his name, while the other hunter can't believe the Minotaur survived. The young man realizes with frustration that with his current stats, he still couldn't finish the opponent. The creature's red eye glows intensely, signaling that the battle is not over yet. With a final roar of fury, the Minotaur lunges forward in a desperate and powerful attack. The young man orders the creature to stop struggling, promising he'll send its friend to the great beyond soon enough. With a final decisive blow, he cuts off the monster's head, which lets out one last cry of agony. A system window announces that Hunter Chu Ganyuk delivered the final blow, leaving his comrades in shock. The raid results appear, showing he was responsible for 82% of the damage. He receives several rewards, including a title, a skill coin, and the miner's horn. However, he looks down at his injured knee, frustrated with the injury he sustained. The wound causes him to collapse to the ground, and his comrade runs over, asking if he's okay. The young man slowly turns his head, the pain evident on his face as he lies on the ground. His comrade looks on in shock, realizing the hunter's knee is completely shattered. He holds him and says that normal healing magic won't work, begging him to say something. The young man thinks to himself that this was a great way to embarrass himself right at the end. His sister, Hyunsi, rushes past his comrade, running to his side. She invokes her healing ability, and a bright green light emanates from her hands to heal him. The healing flower, a unique healing ability, envelopes the young man's injured knee in a soft green light. The light slowly dissipates, but the wound seems to persist, despite the healing magic. The girl pleads with him not to push himself, worried about what she would tell everyone at the orphanage if something happened to him. She desperately begs him to wake up, as a single tear streams down the hunter's face. Suddenly, his fingers twitch, showing a faint sign that he is conscious. He sits up, surprising the girl, and jokes that she seems more worried about others than about him. She is left speechless. He remembers her, Hyunsi, the kind girl who grew up with him in the same orphanage. Meanwhile, the raid leader Park Jundi congratulates everyone on a job well done and suggests they rest. He announces that with the wounded taken care of, it's time to move on to distributing the rewards. The leader then asks everyone to check their share of the spoils as holographic screens appear. The loot window displays purple coins, a Minotaur horn, and other monster materials. The young man analyzes the rewards screen, looking closely at the items distributed among the group. He clicks his tongue in disdain, considering the distribution of the items a bad joke. The leader asks what he just said, and the young man replies that they're handing out junk like it's treasure. With a confident gesture, he holds out his hand and demands that the leader give him his skill coin. A skill coin is an extremely rare item that grants a permanent skill and is worth a fortune on the market. The leader gives a restrained smile, but the blonde-haired comrade gets angry, yelling at the young man. He confronts him, accusing him of stealing the monster at the last second, and now wanting to keep the rare reward for himself. The protagonist steps closer and touches the other hunter's tie, asking a strange question that leaves him confused. With a mocking smile, he says that every time the other guy opens his mouth, it sounds like a dog yapping. The taunt infuriates the hunter, who calls him a bastard. Beside them, the girl looks shocked by her brother's attitude. Completely enraged, the comrade lunges with a punch, promising he'll make the young man never use that mouth again. But before the blow can land, the leader's hand, now transformed into bronze, stops the fist in mid-air. The leader tells him to calm down, but the blonde hunter looks shocked and protests his captain's intervention. The protagonist watches the scene intently, recognizing the leader's ability, bronze giant Park Jundi. The bronze skin skill transforms his body into metal. He releases his comrade's hand, which is pained and bruised. The leader apologizes to the young man, admitting he was being greedy, as the rules state rewards should be based on contribution. He then offers the one-hit kill skill coin, acknowledging that it rightfully belongs to the hunter. The young man takes the coin from the leader's bronze hand, accepting the reward without hesitation. He then takes his sister's hand and turns to leave, leaving the leader behind with an irritated expression. One of the comrades, Park Sang-min, turns and calls out the leader's name in a disapproving tone. He grabs the captain's collar, furiously questioning if he knows how valuable a skill coin is. Sang-min continues to yell, outraged that he just handed over the item. Another group member intervenes, telling him to stop. The leader tries to defuse the situation, laughing and reminding everyone that they're comrades and there's no reason to get so worked up. With a calm smile, he continues, preparing to explain his decision to the furious man. He claims it wasn't a personal decision, but that he was simply following the distribution rules. Park Sang-min falls silent for a moment, trembling with restrained anger and unsure of what to say. He finally lets go of the captain but glares at him with disdain, warning him not to act so high and mighty just because he has a few skills. The man points at the leader, threatening that one day someone is going to crack his metal head open. He then turns to the young man and his sister who are leaving, yelling and directing his anger at them. The comrade warns them that in this world, people take each other out for coins and scraps, while the protagonist nonchalantly cleans his ear. He continues his lecture, reminding them of the fallen hunters rotting in the gutters out there. Sang-min concludes, saying they better change their attitude and get rid of their greed if they don't want to meet the same end. The girl asks her brother if he's okay, worried that the rumors might get them kicked out of raid parties. He coldly replies that it doesn't matter, since he had no intention of sticking with those losers anyway. He tells his sister that just the two of them are more than enough, leaving her confused by the sudden statement. The girl sighs, saying he's saying that again, as she watches him take out a lighter. He calmly lights his cigarette and takes a drag, exhaling the smoke slowly in the silence. More importantly, the young woman asks if he smokes, surprised she never knew that about him. The young hunter maintains a subtle smile on his lips as he continues to smoke, looking satisfied. He places a hand on her head, saying she'd be adorable even if he came back to life 10 times. She is shocked. Stuttering, she calls him Big Brother, nervously questioning what he's suddenly saying. He looks away thoughtful, his mind flashes back to a painful memory from the past. A vision from the past haunts him. He's holding his sister's wounded body amidst a desolate battlefield. In that memory, blood trickled from her mouth as her life slowly slipped away in his arms. Back in the present, he thinks to himself that this time will be different. He wonders when the time will come for him to take her out, as he gazes at her with a dark expression. Meanwhile, back at the orphanage, a voice calls out for the avatar Icarus during the night. One of the boys laughs as he's tossed into the air by a blonde figure, who appears to be the avatar. Other children float in the air, having fun. One of them warns that big sister Yeonsi will get mad, but another says it's fine. Yeonsi suddenly appears, scolding the children for using their abilities there. One of the boys calls her a witch. The floating boy replies with a mischievous grin, asking who she's calling a witch. Annoyed, she raises her fist and yells that she's still only 19, ready to give them a piece of her mind. She runs toward a door with a sign on it but stops when she hears someone ask her to wait a minute. The sign on the door confirms that this is the room of Gon Hyuk, her older brother. Meanwhile, inside the room, the young man summons his status window to check his current condition. The screen shows a worn-out soul penalty which leaves him exhausted and pessimistic. He feels he's reached the human limit. With a determined look, he thinks that this might be his last regression, and for that reason, he cannot fail. He then activates his Observer Avatar ability, remembering that coins are divided by color and rank. His avatar materializes in front of him as he thinks that both hunters and avatars possess hidden potential. This potential can only be unlocked using coins, and thus there's no single right way to use them, as the outcome is unknown. However, he thinks that in his 13th regression, his accumulated experience changes everything. He smiles confidently because now he can see the right answer. He has 82 coins ready to be used. A system window asks if he wishes to use the 82 coins to strengthen his avatar. He confirms without hesitation. Several level up, notifications appear. He calculates that the 82 purple coins are worth about 32 million won. He thinks that Yeonsu would be shocked by the expense. The avatar reaches level 9 and the synchronization option becomes available. With a confident smirk, he decides to initiate synchronization with his avatar immediately. The figure touches him, asking to read his information as the synchronization process begins. An intense blue light emanates from the avatar's hand, enveloping the young hunter's chest. The avatar seems surprised or overwhelmed by the sudden flood of information it's receiving. He grabs its hand firmly, stating that there's no time to waste with hesitation. The young man tells it to see its future self through his memories, forcing the connection. The figure's visor glows brightly, showing that the data transfer is working. A system notification pops up, informing him that he has acquired the unique skill, Forced Awakening. The avatar confirms his potential has been verified and that its root form will be expanded. He is satisfied. He orders it to calculate the future, considering all situations, unlocking the second skill, Prediction. The avatar's body contorts as the ability is activated, its visor glowing with power. Next, he commands it to find all hidden enemies and display them on the map. The third ability, detection, is released, and several enemies appear as red pyramids. Reaching its limit, the avatar informs him that 5 special coins are required to unlock the final ability. He observes the map with satisfaction, thinking that everything is going according to plan. He congratulates his avatar on a job well done and turns to leave, leaving the figure behind. The scene shifts to the outside of Serum Orphanage under the starry night sky. Meanwhile, a group of shadowy figures gathers. One of them complains that the young man got to keep all the skill coins. Another man holding an axe calls him ridiculous and questions his comrades' inaction. The man with the axe declares that's why he came, with the intention of taking out the young hunter. One of the group members seems nervous, remembering that their target defeated a minotaur single-handedly. A hooded figure replies that anyone can be defeated if they're caught by surprise. The other agrees with a grin. One of the men asks their leader to show them the power of predation. The leader smiles and agrees. The hooded leader thinks that the 7th summoning of the Tower of Babel is near, and he needs more power. His plan involves capturing the girl's avatar, which possesses unique and valuable healing abilities. He also desires the power of the hunter's avatar, believing that by devouring both, he can evolve. He clenches his fist with determination, thinking this will finally promote him to rank B. However, suddenly, the hooded leader lets out a pain groan, caught completely off guard. Before he can understand, the protagonist attacks one of his men from behind. The subordinate screams, shocked by the assault. The bloodied blade slices through the air, finishing the young hunter's surprise attack. With the knife in hand, he complains that humans have so little muscle, it's not very satisfying to stab them. The man with the axe screams the name of his fallen comrade, Juno, shocked and furious at the attack. The red-haired man rushes forward to attack, but the young hunter blocks his punch with ease. The attacker grins, calling him a thief and admitting that, as the rumors say, he at least has guts. He taunts him, questioning if the young man isn't a little too weak to face them. The protagonist scoffs at him, suggesting he go join a sumo gym if he wants to show off his strength. He nimbly leaps over his opponent, who misses his swing and hits the ground with a powerful impact. He reflects that regressions make him lose his physical abilities, but after hundreds of years, this is his 13th time. However, he knows that despite the losses, some important things remain with him. Suddenly, the man with the axe screams in pain, becoming the next target of the swift attack. The young hunter strikes him from behind with a quick and precise blow, catching him by surprise. His precision and technique honed over his past lives remain intact. His situational judgment also remains, allowing him to anticipate the next 2 attackers. He readies himself with the knife in hand, prepared to face the opponents coming his way. He moves with surprising agility between the last 2 attackers, catching them off guard in mid-air. His combat sense is flawless. He strikes one of the men with a precise blow, making him scream in pain. The last invader glares at him, calling him a monster. The young man knows he won't lose in a one-on-one fight. The hooded leader watches from a distance, annoyed by his target's unexpected strength. But the red-haired man steps forward, asking his captain for permission to handle the opponent. With a cry, he summons his avatar, a terrifying creature named Ungoliant. A monstrous spider-like beast materializes behind him, its eyes glowing with malice. The creature's form is grotesque and powerful, with a robust body and sharp fangs. The young man grits his teeth, thinking that's not an avatar, but a real monster. The summoner orders his beast to turn him into mincemeat, and the creature lunges to attack. He repeats the order with fury, commanding the monster to tear him apart with its deadly claws. However, a slight smile appears on the hunter's face, as he seems fully prepared for the threat. He then summons his own avatar, the Observer, which appears silently behind him. The figure's visor glows brightly as it activates its second ability, Prediction. A holographic interface analyzes the creature's attack. The prediction is successfully completed. The interface displays the attack's trajectory, a red line pointing directly at his head. He realizes it's just a simple speed-based attack as he dodges the creature's claw. With a confident smirk, he challenges the beast to attack him however it wants, evading every blow with ease. The red-haired summoner watches in shock and fury, grinding his teeth in frustration. Using his avatar's prediction, the young man finds an opening and charges toward the monster. His blade slices through the creature's thick hide, causing dark blood to gush from the wound. He lands safely on the ground, looking back with a satisfied expression without a single scratch. Nearby, the man with the axe shouts that it's impossible, shocked by the young man's speed. In the blink of an eye, the protagonist is already on him, delivering a precise strike with his knife. The attacker lets out a cry of pain, unable to react to the hunter's sudden and swift attack. The monstrous beast screams as it dissipates. Its master wonders why that man is here. The hooded figure, the group's leader, calmly asks if he really wants to know the answer. He says he's here for the same reason they are, as he attacks the young hunter without hesitation. The protagonist blocks the blow and glares at him coldly, accusing him of being a murderer. Annoyed, the leader retreats for a moment, surprised by his target's unexpected strength. The young hunter dodges with a quick movement, avoiding the leader's attack with ease. The hooded figure warns that talk time is over, ready to finish the fight. However, he stops, suddenly realizing something is missing from his belt. As he fumbles for it, the young man asks if this is what he's looking for. With a confident smirk, the protagonist reveals a handgun, leaving his opponent in shock. He questions why guns that don't work on monsters are even circulating. The leader curses at him. Suddenly, one of the men screams in pain as he's hit. The leader orders everyone to fall back. A system notification activates his skill, and he fires at the retreating group. Another invader screams in pain, hit squarely by the hunter's precise shot. One by one, the men fall to the ground, unable to escape the young man's unerring aim. He walks calmly among the fallen bodies, holding the gun firmly. Suddenly, he steps on the back of the fallen leader, asking what he's doing. The hunter says it's obvious he's not down for the count, exposing his opponent's act. Caught off guard, the leader curses the situation, pinned under the young man's foot. A shot rings out as the protagonist pulls the trigger without hesitation. He glares down at him, saying the man should have finished him off the last time they had the chance. The leader reveals his identity. He is Park Jundae, the bronze giant who uses the bronzification ability. The young man accuses him of planning to take him and Yonsei out and then frame the bald guy. Jundae nervously denies it. He presses the gun's barrel against the man's temple, increasing the intimidation. He sarcastically asks if his eyes are made of bronze too. The man begs him not to shoot. The protagonist reveals he knows about the secret organization, the Giants, and that he's just a low-ranking member. Jundae is shocked, asking in disbelief how he could know such information. With an intense gaze, the young man tells him to take a message back to his organization. He warns that the scum who sell their souls for rewards will meet a miserable end, because the savior hates them. The leader is confused by the message. The hunter asks if that's his only response. Suddenly, the protagonist is struck by a surprise attack and cries out in pain. He is thrown violently forward, while the leader screams on the ground, helpless. Even wounded, he gets up and calmly lights a cigarette, his face bloodied. The leader remains on the ground, screaming in pain and agony, completely defeated. The young man approaches and strikes Jundae's face with a brutal, bloodied blow. The leader's eye widens in pure terror, reflecting the barrel of the gun pointed directly at him. Trembling under the gun's aim, the man desperately pleads for his life. With a bloodied face, the young man coldly asks what message he's supposed to take back to his organization. The leader repeats the message, saying that the scum who sold their souls for rewards will meet a miserable end. He concludes that the savior hates low-level players, as the bodies of his men lie around them. The protagonist congratulates him on his good memory, a subtle smile on his face. He then kicks him hard, ordering him to get lost. The leader screams in fear and pain. The man scrambles to his feet, pulling his hood over his face as he prepares to flee. He runs off into the darkness of the night, while the young man watches him go, taking a drag from his cigarette. A system notification informs him that he has successfully defeated the notorious assassin gang. Next, another window appears, confirming that the Duel of Souls achievement has been completed. He also acquires the title, Duelist on Death's Edge, looking out at the city in the distance. The scene shifts to the past inside a dungeon where monster corpses are scattered across the floor. One of the monsters is struck with a powerful blow, screaming in pain before it falls. The young man praised the good hit as he brandished the axe. The last orc murmurs in shock, lying on the ground among the bodies of its comrades. It desperately screams that it surrenders, promising to never attack humans again. The young hunter taps his armor, seeming to ponder the monster's offer. He then says he'll let it go if it can answer one question. The orc looks relieved. With a grin, he asks what a red rocket is that explodes in a second. The creature is completely confused, not understanding the meaning of the strange question. Without waiting for an answer, the young man activates his mortal blow, skill, and attacks without hesitation. He yells the answer. It was the orc's head. A notification confirms the squad's elimination. He stands amidst the massacre, surrounded by multiple system windows floating in the air. His companion watches him, shocked, and asks if he doesn't think that was a bit much. He replies that they were all destined to perish, and that she'd get used to it after a year. His avatar appears. He checks the reward. He received 5 navy coins. He then activates the Forced Awakening ability, awakening the mind's eye. The system informs him that the observer's ultimate ability has been unlocked. It begins to transform. Its visor now displays a glowing eye, showing that the new power has been successfully activated. The new eye on its visor shines with an intense blue light, indicating the power has been fully activated. In the flashback, the young hunter says that should finalize his preparations with the avatar by his side. His companion approaches, saying that now that they've collected the items, they can head back to the academy. He remains silent for a moment, his face set in a serious and grim expression. He finally responds, saying they won't be able to go back for a while, leaving the girl confused. A red magic circle appears beneath her feet. He asks if she noticed the excess baggage that day. The light intensifies and she realizes what's happening, calling out to her brother in shock. He looks at her seriously, confirming that her suspicions are correct. All across the city, several people are caught in similar circles. The great summoning of the Tower of Babel. At irregular intervals, the Demon King Babel selects awakened ones and forcibly summons them to his tower. A man screams in panic, not wanting to go. The survivors of these events are known as the O People. Elsewhere, a hand reaches toward a glowing sphere as a voice says that this is the 7th summoning. A figure with angel wings explains that all hunters of the potential to defeat the Demon King have been summoned. The archangel claps her hands in prayer, stating grimly that this time is their last hope. Another angelic figure approaches, trying to reassure the great archangel. The angelic figure Azazel declares that she will train the humans to be the strongest weapons. The great archangel replies that she's counting on her. Despite this, the archangel feels a strange sense of déjà vu as she watches the sphere of light. Back in the summoning circle, the red light envelopes the young hunter, marking the end of the flashback. With a determined look, he thinks that this time he will save the world, no matter the sacrifice. The scene changes. The girl, his sister, keeps her eyes closed, beginning to waken. She murmurs softly as she opens her eyes, slowly regaining consciousness. She sees her brother beside her, who asks if she's finally awake. Still confused, the young woman looks around, asking him where they are. He replies that they are inside the Tower of Babel. Around them, several other people are also waking up. A bald man observes the newcomers with a sharp, calculating gaze. Nearby, a warrior with a beaded necklace also calmly assesses the situation. The tension is palpable. One of the men is crying, begging to be allowed to go home. The young hunter comments to his sister that the atmosphere here seems quite hostile. She then makes an observation, questioning the number of people, since the summoning was supposed to be large-scale. The girl looks at the crowd, noticing that there don't seem to be even 500 people present. He explains that the others must be scattered across different sectors, leaving his sister confused. The young hunter details that Babel is divided by floors, and the higher you go, the fewer sectors there are. His companion asks what they should do now. He replies that an explanation should be coming soon. He adds that it's about time, while the girl watches him, not understanding his calmness. Suddenly, an intense light explodes in the middle of the crowd, and people scream in panic. A demonic figure floats in the air, welcoming everyone to the Tower of Babel. He introduces himself as Krusty, the faithful servant of the Demon King, noting the humans' confusion. In the crowd, a man reacts with shock and fear, realizing he's facing a real demon. Krusty says he will explain the rules of the first floor to insects, who know nothing. He raises a finger, preparing to announce the first rule of the deadly test. Holographic screens appear for everyone, informing them that humans will be ranked by their performance. The scoring is detailed. Eliminating monsters is worth 10 to 300 points, and clearing a dungeon is worth 1,000. Krusty informs him that after 3 weeks, among the 200 people there, anyone not in the top 50, with a cruel smile and glowing eyes, he declares that he will take out all who fail. A man in the crowd points at him angrily, yelling for the demon not to mess with them. The man challenges him, saying there are many hunters there and questioning who will take out whom. Krusty smirks with disdain, warning that if they continue with their arrogance, he will crush them. With a simple snap of his fingers, a spark of purple energy is released from his hand. The energy strikes the man head-on, causing him to scream in pain as his body is pierced through. The people in the crowd scream in pure terror as they witness the brutal and instant execution. The protagonist watches coldly, knowing he is one of the 4 heavenly kings and number 2 in the demon army. The demon floats with his energy crackling, commenting that it's been a while. He introduces himself again as Krusty, the flashing sky, his eyes glowing intensely. The man's body convulses violently, spewing out glowing coins before he collapses. A nearby hunter kneels and picks up one of the coins, looking at it in utter disbelief. Beside him, the protagonist's sister watches the scene in shock as the demon announces the second rule. With a malicious grin, he prepares to explain the consequence of meeting one's end in this place. It is revealed that upon perishing in the tower, a human drops 20% of their coins. The crowd surges forward. Immediately, a nimble hand snatches one of the coins that fell to the ground. The hunter who grabbed the first coin has his hand stomped on. He looks up angrily, understanding the new rule. A bald, intimidating man presses a dagger to another's throat, asking if he has any coins. Krusty intervenes with a smile, telling them to stop as he prepares to announce the third rule. He prohibits killing among humans in the village area for the first 2 weeks. The brute backs off, annoyed. With a threatening glare, he watches the other hunter, making his future intentions clear. Krusty warns that if they don't want to be taken out by allies, they had better get stronger during this time. The demon observes the crowd's greed, thinking it was worth taking one of them out just to see this scene. Satisfied with the chaos, he offers a special service, his purple energy crackling in his hands. He casts a spell that will attack whoever has the most coins. The energy surges toward the protagonist and his sister. The girl screams for him to stop, but the demon simply snaps his fingers, ignoring her plea. The purple energy envelopes the young hunter, but he remains calm, facing the attack head-on. An explosion of power erupts around him as he withstands the impact of the demon's ability. His sister rushes to him, worriedly asking if he's okay. He reassures her, confirming that he is. She looks around confused, questioning what exactly happened since the attack failed. Suddenly, an angel appears announcing the fourth rule: demons and angels cannot harm humans. A clean, swift slash dissipates the energy, revealing that the rule has been imposed, protecting the hunter. The angel appears, cruelly ordering the demon to do his job correctly. The crowd reacts to the angel's appearance. The demon recognizes her with disdain, calling her Azazel. He laments that she spoiled the fun by making the announcement ahead of time. Resigned, he says that concludes the explanations and prepares to announce the final rule. The last rule is revealed: angels and demons will give different quests and achievements to the humans. The crowd looks at the two figures, understanding that they have the freedom to choose which side to follow. The demon warns that if they don't want to perish, they'd better fight with all the strength they have. He explains that the stronger the humans become, the more his own power and the angels increase. The angel also encourages them with a maniacal laugh, telling them to give it their all. She lands in a circle of light, her imposing presence capturing everyone's attention. A hunter begs her to revive his comrades, but the angel replies that she cannot do that. The crowd surrounds her, desperate, asking questions about monsters, supplies, and how to fight. As she tries to calm everyone down, the protagonist turns and begins to walk away from the chaos. He calls his sister Hayonsi to go with him, leaving the girl confused by his attitude. Yonsi asks if he doesn't want to hear the information, but he reminds her that they've already heard the rules. He says that all they can get from her are quests anyway. Dismissing the need to stay, the scene shifts to the fields of Babel's first floor, the goblin garrison of the Red Star tribe. They come across a hostile encampment, with a watchtower surrounded by skulls and spears. A pair of goblins spots the intruders, shouting to alert the rest of the tribe about the invasion. Immediately, one of the monsters runs to warn the others, ordering everyone to arm themselves against the humans. Before it can react, a goblin is struck by a powerful blow. Realizing the enemy is far too strong, the protagonist walks calmly, confirming it was a direct hit as the monster collapses to the ground. With a smile, he asks the goblins to perish quietly, as he wants to collect points quickly. Enraged, a group of goblins with glowing red eyes prepares to attack the human. They charge forward, screaming to take him out, but the young man glares at them with disdain, calling them weak. He attacks with his bat, striking one of the goblins with a brutal blow that makes it scream in pain. Another monster leaps for an aerial attack, yelling for the hunter to just drop already. The young warrior spins his body, delivering a wide swing that hits several enemies at once. He pauses for a brief moment, his face serious as he analyzes the battlefield before him. With a swift movement, he dodges and shatters a spear that tried to pierce him from below. He notices there was a crossbowman in the distance, finding the situation to be a hassle. The monster archer is shocked that he dodged, wondering if the human is a monster. Suddenly, his sister attacks the goblin from behind, hitting it with a strong blow and making it cry out in pain. She proudly announces that she finished off the enemy. Holding up a frying pan, he glances at her. The young man smiles and praises her, continuing to fight and smashing another monster with his bat. With swift and brutal movements, he continues to take down the goblins surrounding him, one by one. The last goblin is sent flying into the sky with a final, powerful blow, screaming as it soars. He looks at his baseball bat, noticing its durability has hit 0, the item is broken. Amidst the bodies, he tosses the broken weapon, grumbling about the weaklings who thought they were so tough. His companion approaches with the crossbow, commenting that he's strong. He replies that it's nothing special. He hurries her along, telling her to grab the items quickly so they can move on. The girl asks why he's in such a rush as he checks his system screen. The map shows that the first floor of Babel has 7 dungeons, 3 of which are the main ones. He explains that the sewer dungeon has a secret room called the Cradle of Pezeron, and that is important. With the crossbow in hand, he states that they need to get there before the others, leaving her curious. His sister looks at him suspiciously, finally asking who he really is. She presses the crossbow against his back, demanding to know what he did with her brother. He remains silent for a moment, his gaze calm despite her threat. The girl says she started to find things strange ever since what happened in the Minotaur dungeon. She remembers her brother as someone cowardly and scared, but who was also a kind person, but the cruel personality he has shown recently doesn't match her memories. His actions, as if he already knew everything, lead her to one conclusion: he is not her brother. The young man slowly turns to her with a wary expression before answering. They stand still for a moment, the tension rising between them in the middle of the forest. He then asks if she remembers the time they spent together at the orphanage, catching her off guard. He recalls that she always wanted to stand next to him in photos, causing trouble for the teachers. Because of that, he ended up getting bullied by a jealous boy named Chano. Shaken, she says she won't be fooled and that her brother would never have changed so much. He finally reveals the truth: he saw the future, 20 years ahead, in that dungeon. That moment of pain was a phenomenon caused by the observer, which showed him everything. He explains that he experienced, albeit indirectly, the dark future of being summoned to Babel and slowly wearing down. The young man suggests that his personality change is likely due to this traumatic experience he had. But his sister remains skeptical, stating that the observer doesn't have the ability to see the future. He then shocks her by revealing that the first scene he saw was her being taken out by the Minotaur. The warrior explains that this was the first vision he had, and that the observer likely showed him the future for a reason. He says the reason was so that he could protect her, no matter what happened. Her eyes widen at the revelation. With a sincere look, he reminds her of the promise he made to always keep her safe, reaffirming his commitment. Moved and with a flushed face, the girl is left speechless, finally seeming to understand his actions. She cries out his name and hugs him tightly, relieved and emotional to finally have an answer. As she hugs him, she apologizes for doubting him. He just thinks her name Hayonsi. He comforts her, but thinks to himself that she's very perceptive, and that he comes up with a new excuse every regression. 2 days later, the scene shifts to the entrance of a new dungeon, a dark and damp sewer. Suddenly, two humanoid rat-like monsters with red eyes emerge from the shadows, wielding daggers. Before the creatures can attack, they are struck squarely by arrows, falling defeated to the ground. Yancy looks at the monsters with disgust, asking her brother how much farther they have to go in this place. He ignores her question and continues on, smashing another rat monster that dares to stand in his way. Then, the young man stops suddenly, looking around with confidence, and states that this must be the place. He summons his avatar, the Observer, to help him find what he's looking for in the dungeon. Its ultimate ability has activated the mind's eye, allowing him to see beyond the ordinary. A beam of light is projected from its eye, scanning the wall in front of it for something hidden. The ability reveals a hidden statue, and he confirms with satisfaction that this was exactly where he wanted to be. The hunter approaches the base of the statue and finds a mechanism, pressing a button to activate it. A system screen pops up asking if he wishes to use 3 coins to unlock the mysterious cradle. Without hesitating for a second, the young warrior presses the option to confirm his choice. The statue's sword begins to glow, and a message confirms that the first floor of the cradle has been unlocked. A glowing portal opens before them, revealing the passage to the secret area he was searching for. Inside, they find a mysterious chamber with a glowing altar in the center that emits a soft light. His sister looks at him and comments that, being by his side, she's no longer surprised by these things. The young man approaches his stone tablet that is glowing brightly, focusing on his goal. With a confident smile, he tells her that despite everything, what's coming next might surprise her a little. Upon touching the tablet, a system screen confirms his authorization as user Chu Gaiyak, level 1. Immediately, a shop is unlocked, and a vast holographic interface with dozens of items appears around them. In the shop, high-level avatars like Zephyros rank Plus and Thor rank SS are available for rare coins. Other powerful items like a skill book and a rank SS treasure are also displayed with their high prices. Confused, his sister asks what this is. He confidently replies that it is the Cradle of Pezzerin. He explains that it's a secret room that turns hunters into heroes, but adds that it's only for the rich. The young man approaches a coin exchange machine, ready to make some important transactions. He decides to exchange 1,500 purple coins for 6 navy blue coins, confirming the operation on the screen. A notification confirms that he has obtained the 6 coins. His companion watches the exchange, surprised by the amount. Then, the shop recommends an avatar for her, the rank C plus Unu, which costs 5 navy blue coins. The girl asks if by that means she'll have 2 avatars, but her brother says no. He explains that at the moment they only have 1 avatar slot and can't have more without increasing the slots. She asks how to increase the slots. He ignores her, telling her not to buy that item, leaving her confused. The warrior asserts that her current avatar is much better than that piece of junk. She looks thoughtful. Finally, he finds what he was looking for, a rank E evolution stone for 10 navy blue coins. With his avatar, the Observer, by his side, he prepares to begin the entity's evolution. The young warrior confirms the purchase, declaring that it's time to evolve and pressing the button on the screen. A notification appears, announcing that a new frontier has opened for the Observer as the entity begins to glow. The avatar starts to float, enveloped in an intense light as the transformation process begins. He remembers one of his old abilities, the Seer, the one who can see across great distances. He also recalls other powers that made him the tyrant of the 12 divine seats, like Devasiga and Panopticon. After hundreds of years as his partner, he chooses a mysterious new path. The selection is completed Game Master. The system confirms the entry and selects the Game Master route, beginning the evolution process. The new skill diagram is revealed, showing that Game Master is the final ability with an expansion of authority. The avatar's eye glows with an intense red light, indicating the immense energy of the ongoing transformation. A new and powerful purple aura begins to envelop the protagonist's body, reflecting his avatar's evolution. Finally, the transformation is complete, revealing its new form, an imposing figure known as the Avatar GM. Meanwhile, in the deepest level of the sewer dungeon, a monstrous creature rests on its throne. There sits the final boss of the dungeon, an imposing and terrifying beast known as King Radis. The Monster King watches with a sinister gaze. The Monster King senses the intruder's presence, thinking that someone has finally arrived to challenge him. His younger form grows with anticipation as a challenger has finally entered his domain. With a loud creak, the doors to the boss room swing open, revealing an intense light from the other side. The protagonist and his sister enter, ready for battle. He confirms that they've reached the boss room. King Radis glares at them with disdain, questioning if it's just the two of them who have come to face him. Without waiting for an answer, the monster charges with a furious roar, ready to crush the intruders. With a taunting smile, the young warrior challenges him, telling the rat not to just stand there and to attack him already. Enraged by the taunt, the Monster King growls, his anger growing with each passing second. He attacks with a wide, powerful swing, trying to hit the human with all his might. The creature then prepares another ability, its claw glowing with a sinister purple energy. The young man blocks the blow with his bat, yelling that he's not going down here, no way. King Radis leaps over him, wielding an iron flail, preparing for an aerial attack. The hero knows that this attack, the aerial iron flail, deals damage even if it's blocked. He focuses, gripping his bat firmly, knowing he needs to be precise with his movement. With a quick motion, he dodges the attack, rolling forward to escape the flail's strike. He seizes the opening, sliding to the side and delivering a powerful blow to the monster with his bat. The monster's young form admits those were good moves, but that they're not enough to defeat him. The creature then throws a poison gas grenade, declaring that it won't be enough to face him. King Radis moves quickly through the smoke, using the mist to conceal his next moves. His sister shouts, warning that she can't see anything through the poison gas that has spread through the hall. The young warrior mutters, recognizing that this troublesome attack pattern is about to begin. Suddenly, a whip lashes out from the smoke, moving at high speed toward him. Caught by surprise, he can only react with irritation before the attack strikes him head-on. The blow hits him hard, causing him to cry out in pain as the poison enters his body. A notification informs him that the poison is spreading, decreasing his HP and reducing his agility by 30%. The monster watches him with a satisfied look, clicking its tongue in disdain at the hunter's situation. Annoyed at being tricked, the young man clutches his injured shoulder and yells his sister's name, Yancy. The girl recognizes that this is blood poison and decides she needs to act immediately to help him. Without wasting a moment, she summons her own avatar, the powerful goddess of the sanctuary, to intervene. She then uses a healing ability, the detoxification flower, to purify the poison from her brother's body. A healing light envelopes the young warrior, and a system notification confirms that the poison has been neutralized. Recovered and with a defiant look, he prepares to continue the fight, ready for whatever comes next. His sister smiles confidently, readying her crossbow. The monster's young form watches her closely. The girl moves nimbly through the hall, but the creature seems focused on her, emitting an annoyed sound. Suddenly, the warrior appears and lands a powerful kick on the monster, which screams in pain from the impact. The monster staggers backward, questioning the hunter's confidence for attacking him in such a way. Annoyed, the young man insults him, provoking the creature even more as he glares at it with fury. He yells not to be underestimated and prepares a final blow, channeling all his strength into the bat. An instant kill ability is activated. The system confirms that he delivered the final blow to King Radis. The monster's young form watches them, surprised that just 2 hunters defeated him, finding the fight amusing. He reflects that, despite the victory, if this is all they have, they will never be able to conquer Babel. Meanwhile, the protagonist activates the mind's eye ability of his new avatar, the GM. The ability tracks the hidden presence of the Sewer King, revealing his true identity as Shamundi. The young warrior turns to the creature, realizing that something unexpected is happening. Shocked, Shamundi realizes that the hunter can see him, even though he is in his spiritual form. The creature begins to explain that, 400 years ago, a dungeon appeared in his peaceful world, Pezran, unleashing monsters. He recounts that along with 6 other heroes, he rose to protect his world, climbing the Tower of Babel. However, Babel's power was too great. The monster reveals that they were completely crushed in the battle. As a result, he concludes his story by saying that his world, Pezran, was completely absorbed by Babel. The girl stares at him, shocked by the revelation, and repeats the word absorbed, unable to believe it. The creature then points to the defeated body on the floor, saying that the King Radis they vanquished has a dark origin. He reveals that the beast was an artificial creature, a monster modeled after himself. The being explains that, just like him, all of his people became models for monsters, and his world was divided into dungeons. He continues, saying that even 400 years later, Babel continues to invade and absorb other worlds, growing without end. The image shows the terrible fate of conquered worlds, where inhabitants are slaughtered by creatures. Horrified, the girl asks what would happen if they too were to lose to Babel. The creature confirms her fear, saying that Earth would be absorbed in the same way his world was. Suddenly, the young warrior cuts him off, saying that's enough talk, leaving the monster confused. A system notification appears, revealing that he has discovered the secrets of Babel and earned a white coin as a reward. He takes the coin with a smile while his sister asks what that mysterious item is for. With his new GM avatar in the background, the young warrior holds the coin he just received. He explains to his companion that this item can be used to unlock a new avatar slot. His avatar then activates an ability using the white coin to officially add a new slot. The system confirms he has 2 slots, while the girl has 1. He then says there's nothing else to do here. As they turn to leave, Shamundi says that they are the first to see him in 400 years. He introduces himself as the Sewer King and offers his strength to help them see the end of Babel. A system notice asks if he wishes to acquire the rank 8+ avatar. His sister is shocked by the offer. The girl is impressed, finding it incredible to have the chance to get such a high-rank avatar for free. However, the young man surprises her by refusing, stating that he doesn't need a low-level avatar. His sister and the creature are both confused by his refusal, not understanding his decision. As they walk away, the Monster King yells indignantly about his audacity, but is completely ignored. 4 days later, the scene shifts to the village on the first floor of Babel, where several hunters are gathered. A hooded figure walks through the square, keeping their identity hidden from those around them. The hood reveals the face of the protagonist's sister, who looks ahead with a serious and determined expression. She approaches a female knight and says she would like to register to participate in the rankings. The knight asks for her name for the registration, and the young hooded woman hesitates for a moment before answering. She then asks to be registered as anonymous, which makes the knight think she's a strange person. Despite the unusual request, the knight confirms that the registration has been successfully completed. Immediately, the hunter leaderboard is updated, showing an anonymous player in second place. She is shocked to see herself in second and receives the ranker's blessing, which increases her stats and resistance. Other hunters notice the change, surprised that someone with no name suddenly shot to the top of the list. A hunter approaches her suspiciously and asks who she is, as he hasn't seen her in the raid group. Another hunter joins the conversation, demanding that she remove her hood to reveal her identity. Panicked, she thinks that, just as her brother warned, she couldn't maintain her anonymity. Surrounded and not knowing what to do, she despairs, while the young warrior watches her from a distance. Her brother sighs, looking a bit tired of the situation his companion has gotten herself into. With a determined look, he summons his avatar, the Game Master, to intervene in the situation. He orders the avatar to connect to the first floor of Babul and register his own score in the rankings. The entity activates permission expansion, gaining administrator rights over the tower's system. The system begins to update the ranking information, but a warning notification suddenly appears on the screen. The warning informs that the ranking was updated through an abnormal route, leaving the surrounding hunters confused. An absurd score begins to flash on the screen, shocking everyone with its rapidly increasing numbers. The final ranking is revealed. A player named X takes first place with over 13,000 points. The hunters are in disbelief, commenting that the score is impossible, surpassing the sum of the other rankers. They wonder who the mysterious player X is. The girl watches the confusion, now forgotten by the crowd. The knight and a hunter beside her wonder if the absurd score could be the result of some kind of bug. But the knight disagrees, stating that the problem isn't the score, but the way the registration was tampered with. She continues her analysis, her eyes focused on the screen, and says that the real abnormality is something else. The real question, she concludes, is the person who managed to achieve such a high score. Hidden among the leaves, the young warrior smirks with satisfaction, pleased with the chaos he created. Taking advantage of everyone's distraction, the girl decides it's the perfect time to slip away unnoticed. As she tries to flee, she stumbles over someone lying on the ground, a muscular and gravely injured warrior. Concerned, she kneels beside him, asking what happened when she sees how badly he's hurt. The man tells her to leave, as it's already too late for him, but the girl refuses to ignore him. Determined to help, she extends her hand to the sky and summons her avatar, the sanctuary, to heal him. She remembers her brother's warning to never summon an avatar in plain sight, realizing her mistake. Suddenly, a bald man interrupts her, reminding her that the wounded warrior asked to be left alone. The stranger grabs her by the shoulder with a sinister smile, telling her to leave and not get involved. The girl apologizes, feigning relief that someone has arrived to help with the situation. With a smile, she asks the man to take care of the wounded warrior. As she is in a hurry to leave, the brute agrees with a malicious look, promising that he will take very good care of him. Without hesitation, he kicks the fallen warrior with brutal force, revealing his true intentions. The injured man is sent flying through the air, landing unconscious on the stone ground as the girl watches. Other hunters identify the attacker as Igo the Brute, who has fallen to 6th place in the rankings. The onlookers decide not to get involved, knowing that starting trouble with him is dangerous. Iger tells her that the man is almost done for and to get going, since she was in such a hurry. With a cruel smile, he adds that he will make good use of the fallen warrior's coins. Instead of fleeing, the young hooded woman begins to laugh softly with a cold and confident look. She activates her psychokinesis ability, and an invisible force smashes Iger against the ground. He screams in pain. Pinned and confused, the bald man asks what that was, as she stares at him calmly. Ignoring the immobilized man, the girl approaches the wounded warrior and offers him a rice ball. The food glows with a healing energy, a gesture of kindness amidst the chaotic situation. Iger complains that he can't move, being completely dominated by the girl's invisible force. She informs him that the ability holding him is rank D and that struggling is useless, before turning to leave. With a look of contempt, she advises him to try living a better life, mocking his arrogance. Infuriated by the humiliation, the brute insults her, snarling with rage at being defeated. He yells, demanding her name and promising to find her for revenge, but she ignores him and walks away. The wounded warrior eats the rice ball and thinks that maybe the world isn't so hopeless after all. The object glows brightly as he gives thanks for the act of kindness he received. Later, in another hunting area on the outskirts of Babel's first floor, there in an isolated cabin lies the secret hideout of Igor the Brute. Inside, he kicks open the door and yells for his partner Jacob to get ready for a hunt. The man declares that they are going to hunt the woman who humiliated him, promising to break her nose. He asks his partner if he's ever heard of a psychokinetic girl from the east. With no response, Igor yells in irritation, demanding that his partner get ready for the hunt. But upon entering, he finds his partner Jacob lying on the floor in a pool of blood. Shocked, the brute screams his name. He realizes that if the hideout was attacked, he was the intruder's real target, and rage contorts his face. Furious, Iger screams, wanting to know who is responsible. Meanwhile, the protagonist watches him on a holographic screen. With a cigarette between his lips, the young warrior displays a satisfied smile, revealing that he was behind it all.